And thank God for his sacrifice and his example, because it's hard being a man. And if you are having difficulties, just follow Christ, man. Don't worry about the teacher and the preacher. If you read the scripture, Jesus was straight up. There ain't no question of doubt about him. Anything that he said and did is pure. But one of the things I want to say and shout out, because I've talked about the men being an obstacle. And Brother Dixon, if we get an email, I'm gonna have it directed towards you after I say this. Women, you could be part of the problem. You can be part of the problem. That man doesn't feel safe to be vulnerable in your marriage, in your relationships. Your son, you have worldly expectations, just like we do with one another as men in the locker room, in the lounges, wherever we are as men, in the workplaces. And I'm saying to women, you play a role in helping the man that you love, the men in your life that you love, whether it's a brother, with making sure that the model is still Jesus Christ, always Jesus Christ. The vulnerability is a necessity in order for him to get the help that he needs. It says, my strength is made perfect in your weakness. So if we have them lofted with, and again, we want to uplift, but with humility. So we say things like, you can do these things, or we puff up a man. But in actuality, if we're paying close attention and we really love this person, we'll find that they have some challenges that they have not faced or dealt with. And many of us are holding men to an idle stature that is so far from where his reality and to what you have in his mind for him, and rather meeting him where he's at. And so I just say to the women, there's an act of vulnerability in being able to talk to that man and to love that man, understanding we are giving you nuggets about how hard it is for us to get there. It is hard for us to be vulnerable. It's hard. You need us to be vulnerable so we can have the conversation you've been wanting to have as well. But there are some women who are out there, if this man is showing a sign of what she's determined as weak, he's put aside. He's not respected. Now then becomes a different conversation now. Now he needed vulnerability, a space for vulnerability. Now you talked about respect, and this pride thing, it doesn't escape us, because we talk about the responsibility that the man has. So his responsibility, it gets in question, and now we have a completely different conversation, because now you tested his vulnerability, which is something that is challenging. And God is telling us in the scripture that this is what we need to do, even to become more of a man, but we need help. And I believe this projection of what you think this worldly man onto your man and onto your son and onto your brother and even to your father is an obstacle as well. And we're all kind of sharing a part in this continuance of this lie of masculinity and what it looks like. And I say to you, woman who is whole, your vulnerability, your ability to be vulnerable, those who are able will help us. Your example can help us. But those who are holding a man because he's not making enough money, you're holding it to these standards that he's struggling with, and not to the fact that why is he struggling with these things? And I'm telling you, with the Men of Encouragement podcast, that we have things going on in our head. We've got lies in our head. We've got lofty goals, and we haven't dealt with our heart issues, our spiritual battles. We talked about Man Talk is going to be talking about shame and guilt. So indirectly, all of these things are a proponent of what's keeping us from being able to move forward, but we need a safe space. And so we're not sometimes the man that we think we want to be or thought we should be. We're not yet that man. And we have sometimes not even come to that understanding of the type of man a God man, what kind of man that is versus the way the world has designed and made this figure of a man that you, woman, not all women, but you have made a projection onto your man because he may be falling short.